Today, we are analyzing Richard Ramirez, the notorious Night Stalker. Before diving into the analysis, I must preface that Richard was evil, and I don't condone anything he did.
We are all evil in some form or another.
However, just like separating art from the artist, we can separate beauty from the person. So, let's get straight into the analysis. I have already calculated Richard's facial harmony using my facial harmony formula for both his side and front profiles. His front profile scored an impressive 86% harmony, a score that is similar to what you would expect in top models or actors. It is nearly identical to Robert Pattinson's front profile harmony score. So, Richard undoubtedly ranks high in frontal harmony. Now, his side score was entirely unexpected. I could see that Richard had a good side profile, but I didn't expect him to score an impressive 98.2% side profile harmony score, which, by the way, is the highest score I have ever seen. And I have analyzed the side profile of hundreds of top models and actors. It's safe to say that Richard's facial harmony is top tier, with an overall harmony score of 91.3% after factoring in both the side and front profiles. Though Richard has great facial harmony, there's more to consider for his overall score, which we'll touch on later. But for now, let's break down some of his more notable facial harmony measurements. Eye area measurements are crucial in determining a hyper-attractive face, and Richard meets nearly all the metrics. Richard has an eye separation ratio of 46.5%, falling perfectly in the male ideal range of 44.8% to 47%, indicating a pleasant and harmonious distance between his eyes. His eyes are also ideally one eye length apart, showing good eye spacing and hinting at an ideal horizontal eye length. Richard has an eye aspect ratio of 3.6 to 1, which is ideal and masculinizing. A ratio of 3 to 1 or above is perfect in men, as more vertically compact and hunter-like eyes are preferred. Next, let's look at Richard's canthal tilt, a critical metric in determining the attractiveness of the eye area. A negative canthal tilt can give a tired and unthreatening appearance, while a positive one looks alert and attractive. To clarify, it's not impossible to be beautiful with a negative canthal tilt if the rest of the face is harmonious, but it is still a significant factor. In men, the ideal canthal tilt is 6.3 to 9 degrees. Richard has an 8-degree canthal tilt, which is pleasant and preferred. Richard's only fundamental flaw in his eye area is his medium-set eyebrows. Low-set and dark eyebrows are most attractive in men due to their sexually dimorphic nature, and because they depict a well-developed glabella or brow ridge. However, in Richard's case, his medium-set eyebrows do not detract much from his attractiveness due to his overall masculinized and objectively attractive eye area. If you want a facial analysis similar to this one, click the first link in the description below to visit the official FaceIQ website and purchase the package that best suits your needs. Options range from an analysis as detailed as this one to a basic face rating out of 10. Now, let's get right back into the analysis. The jaw is another crucial aspect of determining facial attractiveness in men. Richard's jaw is ideally wide relative to his cheekbones, with his begonial width being 88% of his bizygomatic or cheekbone width. In men, the bigonial width should be 88% to 94% of the cheekbone width. So Richard has a perfectly wide enough jaw. The jaw frontal angle assesses the jaw's steepness or flatness from the front profile. Richard has an ideal jaw frontal angle of roughly 92 degrees. In men, the perfect jaw frontal angle is precisely 90 degrees, but 85 to 95 degrees is acceptable. Richard's chin to philtrum ratio is perfectly ideal at 239 to 1. The perfect range in men is 2.25 to 2.55, which Richard comfortably sits in the middle of. This ratio shows a pleasant relationship between Richard's chin and philtrum. Neither is too long nor too short. Another thing worth noting is that Richard's chin is very square and wide, which is ideal and sexually dimorphic for men. Richard's mandibular plane angle is ideal at 16.3 degrees, meaning his jaw isn't too flat or downwardly grown. The mandibular plane angle directly correlates with the jaw frontal angle. If the plane is too steep, the jaw frontal angle will be overly acute. If the plane is too flat, the jaw frontal angle will be excessively obtuse. Based on Richard's mandibular plane angle and jaw frontal angle, I can say with 100% certainty that his jaw has a pleasing and ideal inclination. Richard has an ideal masculinized gonial angle of 119 degrees, fitting perfectly into the acceptable range of 112 to 120 degrees. Due to his hair always partly covering his ramus, I could never get an exact value for his ramus length. But visually, Richard's ramus is very lengthy and ideal. Overall, Richard has an excellent jaw that is sexually dimorphic and ideal according to cephalometric measurements. His jaw's ratios, angles, and proportions show perfect harmony and pleasing craniofacial development. The first flaws we see with Richard lie in his general facial proportions. For example, Richard's face is 1.325 times taller than wide, and should be 1.33 to 1.36 times as tall as wide. Technically, this is a minor flaw. Richard also has a slightly feminized mid-face ratio of 1.03 to 1, which ideally should be 1.01 to 1 at most in men. Again, this is a minor flaw, but it is worth noting as minor flaws add up. The facial width to height ratio is another general facial proportion that measures the compactness of the midface by dividing the distance of the cheekbone width by the distance from the upper lip to the midbrow. The ideal range in men for the facial width to height ratio is 1.9 to 2.1, and Richard barely misses this with a measurement of 1.89. Science often associates a higher facial width to height ratio with perceived personality characteristics such as untrustworthiness and aggressiveness. Yet, in Richard's case, he is a serial rapist and mass murderer with a more average facial width to height ratio, which is quite surprising and a bit of a curveball. Richard's mouth width to nose width measurement is perfect, with his mouth being 1.53 times wider than his nose. On top of this ratio, his alar base intersects with his medial canthi, and his mouth width intersects with his irises, indicating that his nose and mouth are proportional to his face. Unsurprisingly, Richard passes the lip assessments perfectly, indicating no malocclusions and noteworthy dentofacial growth. His facial convexity measurements also show that his side profile is neither too convex nor too flat. To reiterate, Richard attains an impressive facial harmony score of 9.1 out of 10. However, it's noteworthy that his overall attractiveness score falls below this facial harmony rating, attributed to his facial dimorphism, facial angularity, and features. Sexual dimorphism in humans refers to the differences in physical characteristics between males and females. Regarding facial attractiveness, the more sexually dimorphic a face is, the higher its attractiveness. Victor S. Johnston et al. Created a sexual dimorphism morph that we can use to assess the sexual dimorphism of faces. The far left morph represents the highest level of sexual dimorphism, with a 10 out of 10 score. Each face to the right has a deduction with an interval of 2.5 points. I assigned Richard a score of 7.5 out of 10 in sexual dimorphism. Richard's face is very sexually dimorphic, but his medium-set eyebrows and lack of jaw robusticity compared to the 10 out of 10 morph hold him back from scoring higher in this category. One of Richard's strong suits is his model-like facial angularity. His cheekbones are notably protrusive and highly angular, but his OG curve, or hollow cheek contour, could be more defined. Nevertheless, Richard has top-tier facial angularity, so I assigned him an 8.75 out of 10 in this category. Richard's miscellaneous features are undoubtedly his biggest flaw. His eyebrows could be denser and better shaped. His nose is slightly bulbous from the front. His skin appears to have low collagen and is of an overall inferior quality. He has tear trough lines and eye bags. He has notable nasolabial folds and a slight mental crease. Due to these flaws, I have assigned Richard a 4 out of 10 score in the features category. Overall, Richard is an 8 out of 10 on a bell curve distribution, meaning he would be the best looking out of 8,000 men, which is about a top 0.01% face. Richard was a troubled man, but also an extremely attractive one. With Richard's tier of looks, he easily could have modeled if he cared for himself, which makes the path he chose all the more tragic. Let us know in the comments who you would like to see analyzed next, and make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with our future content.